Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgie Cavan-Smith. Tonight, senior Zimbabwean opposition figure Tendai Biti is in police custody after Zambia rejects his asylum bid and deports him. As fears grow about a government crackdown following Zimbabwe's disputed election, we hear from Tendai Biti's brother about his concerns about the handover from Zambia to Zimbabwe. Also, Congolese President Joseph Kabila's agreement not to seek a third term has been internationally welcomed. The choice of Emmanuel Ramazani Shadari, though, is not to everyone's taste. The former Interior Minister is under EU sanctions. And the baobab's fruits become increasingly popular across the world as a superfood. Whilst in Africa, it's a common sight and a symbol of cultural significance. Since it was approved for European market a decade ago, its use is taken off internationally. But first, Zimbabwean opposition figure Tendai Biti appeared in court on Thursday, charged with declaring unofficial election results in which he said his candidate, Nelson Chamisa, had won. Biti's MDC party is launching a legal challenge against President Emmerson Mnangagwa his victory, and accusing ruling ZANU-PF of fraud. Biti was returned to Zimbabwe after being denied asylum by Zambia, despite a court ordering that he remain in the country as his case was reviewed. There are growing concerns about the treatment of opposition figures under Mnangagwa, despite his earlier promises of a new dawn for Zimbabwean democracy. Clément Bonero tells us more.
Tendai Biti appearing before Harare's magistrates' court just hours after Zambian authorities deported him back to Zimbabwe. He was arrested on Wednesday while crossing the border and sent back after Zambia rejected his request for asylum. The UN says it is gravely concerned for his safety.
Forcibly returning refugees and asylum seekers to a place where their life is in danger is a violation of the international refugee law. This individual was coming to Zambia with a clear intention of applying for asylum.
Zimbabwean authorities say Biti has now been granted bail. However, he will have to return to court to face charges of inciting violence after last week's presidential election. In a joint statement, the US, Canada, Australia and several EU countries have condemned what they say is a growing crackdown on the opposition. 8 other MDC leaders are being sought by law enforcement agencies, and human rights groups have reported multiple cases of beatings and arrests in the capital, Harare. This man says he was assaulted by soldiers in a township bar.
We were out drinking and having fun. Then, all of a sudden, some soldiers came over. They didn't say a word. They didn't ask us what we were doing. They just started beating up everyone.
Emmerson Mnangagwa is to be sworn in on Sunday, but his inauguration could be delayed if the opposition challenges the election results in court. The MDC has until Friday to file a court application, which the Constitutional Court must then examine within 14 days.
Well, Stanford Biti is the brother of Tendai Biti and a staunch supporter of the MDC. He tells us more about why he believes Zambia was wrong to hand his brother back to Zimbabwe.
Wrong not to uphold the statutes of the United Nations Convention on Human Rights and the refugee application processes under the UNHCR. When somebody claims asylum, it is illegal to return them back to their country of origin when they've actually crossed the border into a different country. And under the law is that you only claim asylum outside the borders of your country of origin. So what Tendai did to claim asylum in Zambia, it is appropriate and it is in line with the international law and protection laws of the world.
What do you think went wrong, bearing in mind Mnangagwa's promises of things going to be different under him?
After the coup of November, we knew it very well that there's nothing which was going to change from the ZANU-PF regime. We knew it was only a leader who was changing. And the leader was Robert Mugabe stepping down and Mnangagwa taking over from Robert Mugabe. These are two comrades which you cannot separate. the trousers and the belt which you cannot separate. Mnangagwa and Robert Mugabe have been in power for the past 37 years, tormenting Zimbabweans, torturing Zimbabweans, and they've actually driven Zimbabwe to be where it is. So we didn't expect much in terms of democracy. We didn't expect much in terms of rule of law. We didn't expect much instead in terms of our governance in the country.
You expressed some concerns about how the elections may affect the status of Zimbabweans in the diaspora. Why is that?
One biggest thing is that all Zimbabweans in the diaspora left Zimbabwe fearing persecution by the ZANU-PF regime, which was by then being led by Robert Mugabe and Mnangagwa, his lieutenant. And that is not changed. I left Zimbabwe in 2006 in fear of my life from the ZANU-PF government, and then nothing has changed at the moment. So what I fear at the moment is that no Zimbabwean who is in the diaspora, who left Zimbabwe, particularly on political issues, that we're all running away from the despot junta government or the despot regime. So nothing has changed. So should be any engagement with the Zimbabweans that Zimbabweans should be repatriated back home. The Zimbabweans should be deported back home. I'm actually saying this particularly with a lot of my friends, my colleagues, Zimbabweans in the United Kingdom, that if we are talking of any repatriations of Zimbabweans, there should be massive change of the government in Zimbabwe and the issues in Zimbabwe. So what I'm actually saying is that for now, I would ask any country which is holding non-documented Zimbabweans with no social legal status or who are still applying for immigration status to be granted some form of visa until 2023. After 2023 elections, that's when people should actually start discussing about repatriating these Zimbabweans, provided we have rule of law in Zimbabwe, provided Zimbabwe is now governable or will be governable by 2023.
Tendai Biti there speaking to me a little earlier on. Now, Congolese President Joseph Kabila's agreement not to seek a third term in office has been internationally welcomed. After years of speculation that he would sidestep constitutional limits and run again in December's election, he announced this week that someone else would represent the ruling coalition. The choice of Emmanuel Ramazani Shadari, though, is not to everyone's taste. The former Interior Minister is under EU sanctions and is also a Kabila loyalist, leading to suspicions that the leader is planning on being the power behind the throne if Shadari wins. Some voters are just happy that the speculation about what comes next is over.
The president made up his mind. He always used to say that he would respect the constitution, and he did. We're moved to see that there will be a peaceful transition of power.
The president is a great observant. He's very reserved. He doesn't talk much, but he made a decision.
We're glad because Kabila will leave. Now we're relieved, but we also know that he'll remain in charge.
He's not popular. The heir apparent isn't popular. I'm not happy about this.
And the baobab fruit has become increasingly popular across the world as a superfood. In dozens of African countries, it's a common sight, and a symbol of local superstition and cultural significance. But since it was approved for European market a decade ago, its use has taken off. Take a closer look.
Picking the fruit of the baobab is no easy task, but Taïro Diohu has been climbing the huge trees in Senegal since he was 15. The fruit is increasingly popular in the West, where it is considered a superfood. Its pulp has 6 times more vitamin C than an orange, and twice as much calcium as a glass of milk. Now Taïro works for a cooperative.
Before, dealers would impose their prices. We would sell a bag at a low price. But today, thanks to the cooperative, we earn more.
But unlike coffee or cocoa, which are abundant in Africa, baobabs are threatened by climate change. Scientists say the oldest trees, which are more than 1,000 years old, are dying. These women have started planting more baobabs. Africa's most emblematic tree.
We are aware that there is less and less of the baobab fruit. We had a better yield in previous years than this year because there was not much rain. So we pray there will be enough rain so the baobabs can produce more.
In this factory in Thiès in Senegal, the fruit is washed and then turned into powder. It will then be sold in trendy organic shops in New York, London or Paris.
Now, South African hip-hop fans are mourning the loss of Linda Prokid Mkahizi, who's died aged 37 following a seizure. The star's music often had a positive message that aimed to motivate and inspire listeners. We'll leave you with the sound of Makasana, a popular ode to townships. That's it. Thanks for watching.
Ubungazi ukuthi makasana skipper kanje ubungazi ukuthi makasana skipper kaso awubathi